And we are live. Welcome to the RDBP podcast with your host, the magnificent Superfly, Johnny Lee, the podcast god. And we have a stacked house tonight because we got LoneWolf, Bobby Blade in the house.
Again.
And we got DJ Otis Badass.
Good to be here, Johnny.
And we got Starbucks, Mark Morris.
What's up, Johnny?
And Nasty Neil Jackson.
Nasty? What did I do to get nasty? I don't know how I earned that moniker.
I know, right? That's what Bear decided to call you. I was like, that's his nickname? He's like, that's what I know him by. But yeah, I'm going to let Bobby Blade take away, introduce you guys while I share this February. What do you think, brother?
Well, tonight we're going to be discussing the mouthpieces of the Mountain Wrestling Association. That includes announcers, ring announcers, commentators, managers, wrestlers, anybody that worked the mic and was good at it and stuff like that. I consider myself quite good at it. I consider all of these gentlemen here quite good at it as well.
Well, the first guy I'd talk about is Jim Chadwick.
Oh, yeah.
That guy was the master.
God rest his soul.
Every show that I went to, that if he was on the card, I knew I was going to have a good night. Because, he knew exactly what he was doing every time he touched the microphone. And he would shape a wrestling show.
Absolutely. I mean, anytime Jim Chadwick touched a microphone, it was going to be gold. The crowd was going to be there for him.
He was going to involve everybody in the crowd into it, and it was an experience every time he touched the mic.
Exactly, and you said something. You said involve everybody in the crowd. That's what you should be doing. When you're working the microphone and everything, involve everybody in the crowd. I figured out a little bit later in my career that if you're talking at the people, they're not going to care as much. But if you're talking to the people and involving them in what you're saying and what you're doing and everything, they're going to come with you and react accordingly to everything that you do.
And when you give them stuff, they make noise.
Exactly.
If you throw them T-shirts and stuff, they tend to participate.
Exactly.
It might be slight bribery, but it does work.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're talking about Chadwick. One of the things that, especially when we went to Esther Street and then once we started going to Winchester, was the Christmas show.
Oh.
Even though it wasn't Christmas night, a lot of times it changed with Hayes because of the kids. But his poems were always off the hook, and everybody was just dying to hear what he was going to say. And he'd work on them forever, and he'd come out there and he'd get started. And all the guys were up at the curtain trying to see and looking through the walkway. But that was one of the things that was always special. He always knew how to hit that just right.
Yeah, and he would always dress like an elf or something like that while he was doing it. Yeah, something funny. Yeah, it was great, man. He would involve. It was usually 'twas the night before Christmas, and he would put all the wrestlers' names and everybody involved with the show and everything into the poem, and it was just so fantastic and everything. And a lot of times and everything, he'd recite it off the top of his head and then just go with it and everything. But then later on, he would write it down and everything as they got more intricate and all that stuff. But it was always entertaining. Jim Chadwick was the man, seriously.
It was good, and I know, like for me, there's certain guys you wanted to try to be like or imitate, but we'll go with you on it. Like when you started, what was your thing? Who did you want to be? Were your own sultry sound? I mean, to me, you're Barry White. You got the voice. If I was doing it back in the day, because I did a lot of booking from 06 till it ended.
Well, but it actually my announcing stuff started from it spawned from radio. I started working in radio when I got out of the Army in Texas. And I just decided what kind of style I was going to have was my voice was going to be my instrument, and I was just playing jazz. That's all I'm doing. I'm improvising, playing notes. I'll hold some words longer because it's almost like I hate to use the name, but Rush Limbaugh was expert at doing, like just holding a certain phrase or a certain word when he's saying stuff. And that's basically my style. A jazz kind of an improvisation, like inflection. People like inflection too, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very good. What about with you? I know Hot Rod, of course, with the shirt. But I mean, what was you said you learned later, and you had probably many people from, MWA going all through, but what was your style? Was it always Roddy right off the bat? Did you know that's who you was going to be?
Yeah, pretty much, man. Well, when I first started and everything, working the mic, was very on before MWA. And I would get on the mic, and I was very timid and everything, and it didn't really come, you know, and it sounded forced, and people couldn't believe in me and all that stuff. And then one day, I was feuding with Sean Casey, Sean Livewire Casey, Sexy Sean Casey, whatever you can call him. And this was later on at the MWA, and this is about 96. I'm feuding with Sean Casey. We just had a match. I go up to the stage in Georgetown, because when you left the ring, you had to come up, and then there was stairs, and you go up to the stage, and the heels go in the door over here, and the baby faces go in the door.
One to the left and one to the right.
Yep. I went up on the stage, and Sean Casey gets on the mic, and he's, you know, blah, 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 you know, challenges me for a match the next week. So then Fargo, you know, he knew that I was shaky on the mic, but I had to do something because we're setting up, you know, this is one of the top feuds going on at the time in the MWA. He sticks the microphone in my face, and he goes, sink or swim. And then I was just like, oh, I guess I got to swim. Blah, 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 blah. And I just kept on and on and on, and I cut like a 5-minute promo, and I haven't shut up ever since.
I mean, that's the best way of doing it.
Yeah.
Learning as you go.
Yeah.
Sink or swim, that's basically the radio philosophy too, because if you're not ready, it shows really, really fast.
Yeah.
Real fast.
Yeah, for you know,
can't hide it.
my luck was that I was ready that night, and I just kind of took that and everything. But then I also improved on that as well. I started going back. You know, like Roddy Piper is my favorite wrestler of all time.
Hell yeah.
You know, he was always, you know, running his mouth and then backing it up, and running his mouth and backing it up and everything. So I started watching a lot of Roddy Piper promos and everything, and he was really out there with some of the stuff he was saying. I would do the same thing. I adopted the same style. Just go out there, get as crazy as possible with the promos and everything. And I was talking to the crowd as opposed to at them, like what I was talking about earlier. And, you know, talking to the crowd, they start coming with you, you know, and they start reacting to everything.
And Piper was a master when he first started. It was like a sneak-in wrestler because he was an announcer first.
Yeah.
And then he was just thrown into a wrestling situation, and they didn't know that he could wrestle.
Yeah.
And so it was a real surprise, you know, when the realism that when it crosses over and it feels real.
Yeah.
You know, and Hot Rod, I mean, Piper had that.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
every place that he went and every feud that he had.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of the younger people and everything, they watch Piper, his later stuff, and they're like, well, Roddy Piper, you know, couldn't wrestle. He wasn't that good. Watch his 80s, 70s and 80s heel work. Oh, my gosh.
The heel work that he did in the 80s hurt his body so much that he couldn't work in the 90s. And, I mean, he had a wrist that never healed, that he broke, that he never healed.
Yeah.
And, I mean, all kinds of injuries.
Yeah. But, I mean, the thing is, too, is, you know, if you can get this, you know, if you got, you know, a promo style down and you can work the mic and you can run your mouth, you're gold. I mean,
that's right.
You know, I made a career off of it, you know, just, you know, running my mouth and taking very few bumps there at the end. So, but you know, you were in radio, and I know we got another radio guy here, and Otis. What kind of style do you bring?
First of all, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing here because when Ray the Bear called me back in July, he said, hey, we're doing this whole MWA thing on Nice Guy Indie podcast, which I want to get to you here in a second, okay, Johnny?
All right.
This was in the middle of July, and I said, Ray, why the hell do you want me? Because I never worked in MWA. He goes, yeah, but you've worked with a lot of us, and PTW, and Blade, and Morris, and you know all of us and everything. I said, still, that doesn't constitute me being here with the MWA guys. I just show up, you'll be fine. And then I realized something. My back's been hurting all these years. You know why? Carrying Bobby Blade on the microphone.
Oh, jeez.
You know, I have heard a lot of the commentators, well, the fans, especially when they listen to the shows y'all do now, that they're glad you're there because, you know, they want to be polite to Blade, but sometimes it's a little hard. He gets lost. He starts talking about the old days when he used to do stuff, and then you have to. Hey, Bobby,
sometimes we got to reel him back in just a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
So
I can see Bobby as a guy throwing toys, and you know, this is my toy. I'm not throwing it back over the fence for this kid.
I mean, he is planning to hit Al still with that patent elbow drop because he's still mad about that G.I. Joe figure.
I'll hit him while he's asleep
That's
So-
right.
when he least expect it.
Bobby, I'll get back to your question here in a second. Johnny, I want to thank you
You're
because
welcome.
you are doing something. You and Nice Guy Andy and Ray the Bear, getting all these old MWA guys back together. You're doing a great service to Kentucky independent wrestling and rehashing all this great history about MWA. And I think that's very, very important of what you're doing because now you're getting this documented for us to go back and listen to. I don't know everything there is to know about MWA. You probably forgot a few things. You probably have too. You as well. Now we have this and we can go back and listen to all these stories.
Yeah.
And I think what you are doing is fantastic. Okay, so
I appreciate that.
I'm gonna give you a pat on the back for that.
You know what-
And we got
what would
David
be-
Burns from Texas finding out about MWA as well.
What's that?
What would be really
got a Dave
interesting,
Burns.
You know, Netflix did the documentary on OVW.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about they're the oldest promotion. They've been around forever. Well, up until 2013, MWA was the longest running promotion in the United States.
Yeah.
And at the time, especially from 09 to 13, we had Tito was doing a lot of stuff for us. But then, you know, we had Will with Prep Spin.
Mm-hmm.
Came and was doing the video and stuff. And the one thing that me and Hayes really messed up on, because if you know William with Warfield, I mean, he's made it big in high school sports, college sports. He's producing all this stuff.
The king of stream.
He is, and I mean, he's done. I think he's got like 27 ESPN top 10 plays that he was there for. To have it not documented that way, because at the time we didn't know YouTube was. I mean, it's starting to come out, new stuff. We were still in MySpace, and that's before Facebook. If you think about that, we started getting Facebook toward the end of it, but that history. And going back, you know, I started with them in '97. My wrestling license number was 093. That's how old it was back in the time. And then I was kind of part-time because I was doing the car business, so I couldn't come all the time. So I didn't get to do a lot. I got to know a lot of the guys. But seeing how far it came from, you know, we talked about it at Georgetown Sunday nights. You didn't have to worry about pay-per-views or anything being on because everybody was going to be there to watch the show.
Yeah.
It was the highlight of everybody's day. Then we went to, we'll call it, you know, Mount Sterling's armpit, but Esther Street Jubilee, but it kind of suited what MWA was at the time.
I love that building.
It was
It
awesome.
was- it
I mean,
was-
it was with Law Dog and all. It was
It was
awesome.
wood floor. You could reach it. You know, if you jump halfway hard, you could touch the ceiling. I mean, you couldn't. There wasn't a lot of high flying
There was no top
going
rope
on.
stuff,
Yeah, there
because
was,
you'd hit
because
the
you'd
ceiling,
hit the
bust the
ceiling,
light.
but you could take a choke slam and your feet could nearly touch that cage light on top of the. I took a choke slam from Bear in that place, and that I got my feet right up there and almost kicked that cage.
So, Bobby, I want to thank you too and Brant, Crusher Bones, forever, because I know it has taken hours and hours to go through all these old MWA, the footage that you all have to upload on YouTube. Today, I watched Royal Engagement for the first time since I was there at the Continental Inn across the street.
It was a great show.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yep.
So I want to thank you. And by the way, as far as Bobby and I working together all these years, I couldn't have done it without this man right here next to me. Could not have done it. So I love him. He's my brother. We talk about once a week, and
Oh, hey, you want some chapstick?
he's I guess you and Aaron's been my biggest supporters in wrestling, and can't thank you enough for that.
Yeah. Otis will call me every so often and everything, and he'll be like, "I just want to apologize." And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "I was off my game on Saturday night." And I'm like, "Otis, you did awesome, man." He's like the commentary version of Jordan Cage.
Oh, Lord.
Jordan Cage will go out and have an amazing, awesome match, outwork everybody on the show, and then be like, "I'm awful. I'm awful."
Forever.
Otis does the same thing.
The best announcers are their own worst critics.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Right.
they'll know every inflection that they do wrong in the playback, and they're listening to every breath and everything.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have even been part of MWA if it hadn't been for Aftershock. He brought me in to announce a show in Mount Sterling at the City Hall gym.
Yeah. Big shout out to Jeff Vickers. May he rest in peace.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh
He's
yeah,
passed away in 2016 on Father's Day of all days.
yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, you were talking about commentary styles and everything. I don't really have a style. I've worked with Otis and Tiny is the usual commentary team that I work with. And I think that honestly, I think we're the best commentary team in the state. And that's toot, blowing my own horn.
Well, I've seen
I believe
OVW lately, and it's not that hard to beat OVW. I mean, it's like whoever their sound guy was, or whoever the sound guy was for the last 5 years, that guy needs some hearing check because there was never anything balanced right in anything that they did.
Yeah.
I will put our team of Aaron Tiny Rose, Lone Wolf Bobby Blade, and myself, I will put our commentary team up against anybody in the state of Kentucky.
Yep.
We may not be as polished. We may not be as smooth, but I guarantee we're going to outwork you, and we're going to have more fun.
And you also got to give a shout out too there for Tripping Balls,
Yes.
Austin Medler,
Yes.
Adrian Alexander, and Scott Diamond, because they, we all kind of interchange with each other.
Right.
So I mean everything. It's a great team. I have a great time. I might not be the best. I might not be the most knowledgeable, but I'm going to be entertaining during the broadcast and everything else.
So would you be considered, because you're talking about commentary, are you the Jerry Lawler?
I am the Jesse the Body Ventura.
Okay, you're Jesse.
Yeah, it's like Aaron Rose is the Jim Ross, Otis is the Mike Tenay, and I'm the Jesse the Body. And we've discussed this. So.
I wondered about that.
So, and I will take the Mike Tenay compliment with a Lance Russell voice.
There you go.
Hey, Lance Russell, Dave Brown, that was.
I
for
grew
me,
up on.
That was Saturday morning.
That
You
was,
couldn't miss it for
exactly.
Yes.
anything. And
Yep.
then all of a sudden I found there was a station called WTBS that came out, and Gordon Soley. And, Saturday mornings, and we went to watch Gordon Soley, and that, I remember Tommy Richmond, Rookie of the Year. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I had to get the magazine that had him on it. I was so excited about it. But yeah, I think for most of us around here, Saturday morning, and seeing them come on, and Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee and Joe LeDuc. I mean, it was just Billy Travis.
Yeah.
God rest his soul.
Well, Lance Russell was the conscious voice, the first conscious voice that you heard of wrestling. He knew you knew who the good guy was. You knew who the bad guy was. And if there was a heel turn coming, he could sell it like nobody else. First one I ever saw, it was Tojo Yamamoto, and he had a couple of Japanese guys with him, and they were beating up superstar Bill Dundee. And then, for some reason, Dirty Dutch Mantel comes running down to the ring, and he was a bad guy at the time. And here's all that Lance Russell said that totally sold it. Oh, no, here comes Dutch Mantel. And he came in and saved Bill Dundee. And the heel turn was done. And they asked him the next, why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? And he said, saw this little kid standing there with an American flag. And he looked at it. He just looked up at me. And I said, well, I got to go in there and help him. Yeah. and it made no sense because superstar Bill Dundee was Australian.
Yeah.
Getting beat up by two Japanese guys. So there really was no American component to it. But it's still, that the little kid with the American flag is why I went down there and saved him.
Now, speaking of great announcers and stuff, it just popped up on the screen. Slick Rick.
Yep.
I mean, we got to give props to Slick Rick.
Yep.
He still does it up in Ohio. I know he does something for Roger still. But, he always brought, to me, a classic look to it. He always had the suit, and he's got the curly blonde hair and stuff, but he always did a real good job.
It was enthusiastic.
Yeah, you always knew it was a big show.
Yep. Wow!
Yeah, it was, here I am, and look, I look good. I see Patty's on there. I see Roach is on there. There's Donnie.
Yep.
Donnie, you could do a run in here because Blade kind of taking your shine.
I'm
So
trying to.
anytime you want to come around,
And
we'd love to see it one more time.
I'll throw him right out of here.
Donnie wants to say to y'all, hello, guys. That room is full of superstars tonight. Each one of you are a class act.
We think we're superstars, but
Oh, and Chucky Smooth just chimed in. He's tuning in.
What's up, Chuck? Speaking of Chucky, now I know we're talking about mouthpieces, and I brought it up when I was here with the Steels. Chucky was our John Cena. When we took over, and with me and Chris in 06, I joined in with him and became partners or whatever. Once we made Chucky the champion, he did the hospital visits, he did the school visits, because we were playing a lot of schools, we were traveling all over doing the schools. But people just loved him.
Yeah.
He come out with that fur coat, and they just thought mic-wise, it was okay. Punching-wise, but he lived the dream. And
Yeah.
people believed in him. It was unbelievable. I've always said, Chuck, you were our John Cena, and we're talking about Baby Tuffy. I said, he just popped on there. Braxton, we're so proud of you, brother. Been with the fire department, and really appreciate what you're doing, and you're carrying on a tradition that most of us would never be able to do. So God love your heart, brother.
Chucky said, thanks, Mark. That really means a lot. I love you. And Braxton said, y'all need just for men.
Hey, you need to take
Just
that.
for men.
You need to take that. You need to take that compliment back that you just gave him.
Said, yeah, you're done now.
Yeah.
You might want to look at the top of your head there, a little tough.
I've earned every single gray hair on this chin. I'm telling you,
Ain't
I've
that
earned
right?
every single one of them.
Ain't that right?
You were talking about Lance Russell, and what I always enjoyed about Lance and listening to him, no matter how bad it was going to get, despite all the chaos, he was still going to be all right.
Yep.
He had that calming effect about him.
He was
that
like-
at the end of, television or at the end of the night, it's going to be okay.
He was like a grandfatherly
Yeah.
type figure and everything.
And I guess for some reason I've just absorbed all that. I was a sponge listening to him when I was younger, and it was never, when I started doing this with you, it was never in my mind, oh, I want to be Lance Russell. Who wouldn't want to be Lance Russell, right? But I never said to myself, I want to do Lance Russell's style. All of a sudden, it just happened, and that's what I'm comfortable with. If you remember when I started off with you, I was the third wheel of the commentary team. Still am. But I was more hijinks.
Who got you?
He's lying.
How did you get in? Of course,
So-
here's the thing: if any wrestling promoter, if a DJ from a Lexington radio station says, "Hey, I want to be on," guess what? You're booked. But because I remember you showing up, like, oh man, that's awesome. He does double Q, and then I got to know you, and I know all the other stuff you do. But what got you in? Who got you in the door?
Here's the damnedest thing about all of this. When I was going to Georgetown College, still being a wrestling fan, and I was learning radio, and I was on the college radio station, here's what I did not realize. MWA was right there in my backyard in Georgetown. Why did I not go down there to Country World, is that where the convention center,
Yeah.
and watch MWA? And that's one of the biggest regrets that I have, that I did not just take the time and go over there and do that and watch you guys and try to figure out when I was younger, 19, 20 years old, how do I get in? So this all started with a conversation with Jim Cornette.
Okay.
I was at the Lexington Comic Con, was talking to Cornette. I'd been listening to his podcast. This would have been 2014. I didn't know anybody in the wrestling industry. Nobody. Except Jim Cornette and listening to his podcast. And I said, look, I'm 35, 36 years old at this point. I don't know anybody. I'm probably past my prime in getting into wrestling. How do I do it? He said, just show up. Just show up. Let them know that you can be an asset. Let them know that you can be valuable to the promotion. What are your skills? What can you do? And eventually, you'll make about $25. Okay. So I kept showing up to Primetime Wrestling because I was going to my parents' house on Sundays at Georgetown, having dinner with them, and then going over to the flea market. So I kept showing up, and it's like, you know what? They need an announcer here. So what do you do when you try to get into announcing? You don't have anybody to kind of help you out. You take this thing right here, and you start announcing, and you hold it up to the ring. Hello again, everybody, from the Georgetown Convention Center in Georgetown, Kentucky. Exciting! Primetime Wrestling is on the air. Hi again, everybody. DJ Otis Badass alongside... Oh, no, wait a minute. I don't have a Bobby Blade at this point. So I start doing this, and I'm putting these matches. Remember Periscope?
Oh yeah.
Remember Periscope, the old app? Okay. So I'm putting these on Periscope, and I'm start doing play-by-play. I had a friend of mine who is a police officer in Brooklyn, and I get a text message from him. I want you to know that my precinct is watching your matches in Georgetown right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I had a friend of mine in Chicago, and she would text me, hey, my husband and I, we're watching Primetime Wrestling all the way up in Chicago, all because I'm doing this. Not getting paid. I'm not official. I don't even know how to get a license at this point. And then if I can go back to what Aaron Rose said, he tells it this way. I'm backstage, Aaron's backstage, and he said, guys, listen to him. He's doing it like I'm a circus bear flinging poo at the audience or something. Okay? And then, like 3 days later, I get a call from Larry D, and he says, "Hey, we're looking for an announcer. We're looking to shoot DVDs. We need a commentary team. It's going to be you." And I knew Aaron for about a year and a half or so. That was my only other connection. And somehow this team came together, and we have had a blast ever since. And then Aaron took some time off, and Blade and I got paired up doing play-by-play and commentary, and we had a great run with that. Sean Bossman from NWF up around Cincinnati area, he had joined us a few times on commentary. He helped out tremendously. And Lee G. Carter, we can't do this without, we couldn't have done this without Lee G.
Yeah.
And he was a big part of our commentary team.
Yeah.
With Prime Time Wrestling.
He had the love for the business. He would get really passionate about it and everything too. You know, he would come out there, the PTW matches, they were having great shows at the time, and you know, the guys would come out and everything, and he would just get on fire for the matches, and he'd be, you know, he'd tell the history and all that stuff and everything of the guys in the match, and it was fantastic. He did a great job for just kind of being thrown.
I'm glad you mentioned him because it slipped my mind. I think about Lee G all the time because Kentucky high school sports,
yeah,
you know, KSU, but wrestling, I've got videos popped up the other day in the memory, and he's sitting over dancing on the side as the music comes out, you know, for a worker to come out. And I'm like, "Lee, what you done?" He's like, "I love his stuff. I love it." And he's getting ready to do the announcing for the match. But Lee was a super good guy, and it's tragic what happened.
So Bobby and I, we went to his visitation last spring.
Yeah.
And we went up and talked to his mother, and we offered our condolences. And we explained to her, we worked in wrestling with Lee, loved working with him. And she laughed, which was not really the reaction we were looking for at the time. And she laughed. She said, "Oh, he got all that from me."
Oh, that's awesome.
She said, "I love wrestling, and he got every bit of that from me." And that just kind of made the morning a little bit better for us, knowing that.
Yeah.
So God rest his soul. He was so great to work with.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. There's a lot of passion that he had and everything. Everybody that we worked with, like when Aaron left, we worked with Kyle Fields for a little bit, and he was another radio guy.
Great, I forgot.
And
about
then
Kyle. My apologies. Sorry, Kyle.
And then Bossman and Lee G. And when I went to wrestle Adam Swayze, you worked with Jeff Waldridge.
Yeah, Jeff Waldridge had stepped in a couple
great
times.
in his video part of it. That's another thing with his DVDs and the way he produced stuff.
Yeah.
He was very instrumental, especially with PTW.
Yeah, he had some great hype videos, man. They would show him up on. They had it wasn't a screen, but it was just like a big white wall up there.
Basically up against the wall.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Before every one of their big shows, they do pay-per-views. We call them pay-per-views. But every 6 weeks or so, wasn't it? And I mean, he'd do a 5-minute hype video that was production-wise, you'd have thought you was at WWE.
Yeah, it rivaled anything WWE did, you know, as far as like hype videos. It was that good. I mean, it was awesome.
That's one of the many things I miss about PTW was Jeff and I, we just had these hour-long conversations throughout the week because I was helping him produce these hype videos. And we had so much fun during the week just trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to do this? I've got an idea. Where do we need to go? How do we do this and that and everything? And the Cadillac I had at the time showed up in many promos because I was driving around Hollywood Adam Swayze, and he's just degrading my Cadillac. What is this cheap Uber I'm riding in and everything? And it was so good, and every time I see Hollywood, we laugh about that in the promos. But, yeah, Jeff Waldridge did a hell of a job on these promos, and that's one of the aspects of PTW that I really do miss was the production value.
Yeah, I think that does Gen X still do that? Do they?
I'm not sure
because PTW evolved into Gen X, so I didn't know if they kept doing that or not. So.
And one of the best came from Justin. One of the last promos that we did in PTW in January, February 2020 was the Hall of Fame show, and I had to show that to Justin Idol not too long ago.
Oh.
I had to show that to him. I said, "Here's how I did it."
Let him know how it was going.
And Justin's probably sitting there going, I'm on fire.
I'm ready.
Oh, yeah. He's fun. He's a lot of fun to talk to.
That's
a lot of
great.
fun.
Travis Crawford said he sees Owe Anderson.
Who said that?
Travis Crawford.
Oh, come on, Travis.
Yes,
which
yes.
is a real good thing. And that's like wrestlers today, they don't really have anybody, you know, promoting them or promoting themselves. And you read about a lot of this stuff, they're like, well, who's helping you? Who's doing this? What are you doing to get yourself over? And say what you will. I mean, Larry, hey, Jeff, follow me for a year, talk to some people. Let's see what we're doing. Even back with PTW, they were great about getting the stories and having the guys film, videos or vignettes and sending it to you all and getting them produced. We did some with MWA, but it was still VCRs. We're using old cameras that you had to transfer to tape, and then from tape to hopefully get it into a CD or a DVD where you could get it playing.
Yeah.
So it was a whole different thing back then.
Well, that technology, using Facebook and or filming videos and stuff like that, putting them online, that was a new technology, but that didn't come until the end of the MWA. If we had that technology, the whole time and everything, it'd been fantastic. We did great anyway, Here's the thing, and I was telling Johnny this earlier. The MWA closed in 2013. Here it is, 2024, and people are still talking about it.
Sure.
They're still excited about it. They still, talk about the memories that they had from it and everything. People will come to me. They'll message me and, hey, remember when this happened? And it'd be like something happened in like 94.
Georgetown was always sold out.
Yeah.
Sterling did good for shows.
Yep.
Then we started going to Richmond at the National Guard Armory for what we called our pay-per-view events.
Oh, they were
built
awesome.
up everything in Mount Sterling. All right, go to Richmond to see the payoff. And it was packed. There'd be people lined up forever, and you couldn't get anybody. Seats, we run out of seats. And then we said, okay, we couldn't do the Armory anymore, so we started going to Fannie Bush. And, I heard you talk about one of your greatest things was the 40th anniversary show.
Yes.
Which is still my proudest moment ever putting on because we honored everybody. But there wasn't another seat in that building. Matter of fact, people got hurt. We knocked we had a stand-up, a screen to show videos. And it was so crowded that even the guys in the back, because they all wanted to see Dale Mann, they all wanted to see a lot of the old guys, we knocked it over, I think it was on Felony. Remember? And his Dale's wife, Dale Bass, wife. And we gotta give Dale some credit. He gets a lot of heartache in the world, and there's times that we fired him in the middle of the ring during a show and shot on him. But Dale, you're talking about somebody that loved the business and wanted to be a mouthpiece of it. You couldn't tell him the finish because he would announce it before it happened and let everybody know by mistake or that part of it. But Dale, you have been an icon. He started the Kentucky Wrestling Hall of Fame. He worked his way from wrestling up all the way through, knew when it was his time, unlike Bobby. Decided it was time to get back behind the mic instead of being out in the ring. And, I didn't say it out loud, but you know what I'm saying. It's one of those things but Dale was really good about it. And
Dale, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I thought Dale did a great job. Every time he was out there, Dale very friendly, very approachable, and everything. He was always the ring announcer for the. Up until Jim Chadwick took over for the ring announcing for quite a while, for several years, and then Dale stepped back into it there and never lost a step. Of course, he was ring announcing other places too and everything. I was actually talking to Dale today. I've talked to him for about 3 hours, and he told me, we were talking about the MWA. He says that he has in his building, he's got banker boxes full of results of MWA going back to 1979. Every single show except for like the spot shows and the road shows and everything that we do on the loops and all that stuff. But he's got at least the results from Georgetown going all the way back to 1979. Company started in 1969, but Dale's got the results from 79 all the way up until whenever it was. Yeah. So he's a great historian for the business, And
not just, and wrestling in general. MWA, yes, but he knew Kentucky independent wrestling. He knew about it.
Yeah.
Everybody knew who he was.
That's right.
But everybody knew who he was.
Every the videos that I put up on my YouTube channel, we're watching my YouTube channel to everybody that's watching at home. Every video that I've got on my YouTube channel, most of them are mine, but the rest of them are
Patty?
Yeah, that's Patty. I compiled from Dale Bass's collection and Ray the Bear Steele and maybe like a couple other people, Al. But a lot of them, if it isn't mine, it's probably Dale Bass's video, and I do credit him on there, for the videos that were his. But Dale's a great historian. So
Mike Strong said, "Run a reunion show. Turn this into money."
Hey,
And Braxton
we
said,
talked about numerous times maybe not necessarily a wrestling show where they actually get in the ring and wrestle, but doing it like a Q&A. Having a dinner, hey, you pay $25, we feed you, and then you have a panel of the guys sitting up front.
I've thought about that too.
And, you know, we've looked at it. The problem is it's so complicated. Everybody's busy. They're
Right.
trying to find the right time to do it and make sure that everybody that wants to be there is involved, because there's different eras.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, the Georgetown area is a little bit different than the other. Mount Sterling's its own era, and then you've got, you know, the Winchester area. That, I mean, they all still come together, but to get everyone together one time would be phenomenal.
Yes,
So let
it
me
would
ask
be.
you this, because I've thought about that too, and it's something I would like to be involved in, help organizing. But you're right, it's complicated. Do you guys think that Central Kentucky, and let's go outside Central Kentucky a little bit, whether we're going in Louisville, we're going down south, we're going up to northern Kentucky, is this a hub for independent wrestling?
It can be. Me personally, I know that when Blade and X were on, I kind of asked that question.
Okay.
The problem was we had from 06 to and 13, when I was involved in it on a weekly basis, was you had so many shows trying to run on top of each other. You know, even with Danny, I mean, you know, there was times that people would try to run, but people knew when Fargo and Del Man had it, you couldn't beat them. So Sunday nights, don't even try to do anything, because that's where it's at. If you could get a group, and one of the things that me and Hayes did that probably third most proud of, or top 5, was the Night of Champions. And it was a shoot almost, because we wanted to show our workers were better. But we brought 6 different companies, said, send us your champion, your best workers. And we're going to do a night in Winchester, Fannie Bush Elementary. We had conference calls. It took almost 3 months to get it put together. But they got their own match. So if you had OVW or whoever it was at the time, KCW, you know, all the different ones that were out there, but we wanted our fans, and then their fans that would hopefully come, to see that our workers were better than everybody else's. If you could get a group to work together, and I think X said that him and Terry and Kyle Maggard, that group down south are kind of doing that, there is no doubt the fan base is there. I mean, look at the shows. I mean, Blade had over 3,000 views. I think Hayes and Larry Corey had over 5,000 views. If you look at it, since this has started, I think there's over 20,000 views for the MWA reunion stuff. It can be there, but also TV is, me personally, oversaturated. You watch it every night of the week.
Yeah, for free.
And it makes it hard because they see all that on TV. And let's be honest, our shows, we did what I call Memphis style.
The stuff that was going on in Estill Street would have been better than what was going on OVW the last 5-6 years. Now, hands down. I mean, I remember talking with a few guys about the show that we did at Tattersalls.
Yeah,
You want to talk about what the local wrestlers did in that show? That was legendary, because there was people like Sabu on that card. There was a whole bunch of big name, big money guys came in for that show, and it was the local guys that worked at Estill Street that took the roof off. Every match that every match the local guys were in, those were the matches of the night, hands down.
There was
big ass names there.
Yeah, there was one night that we had Psychosis was there. Were you there that night?
I think so.
Eddie Guerrero was supposed to have been there, but he got re-signed to WWE, so he had to cancel, and they replaced him with Psychosis. And it was a 3-way, 2 luchadors, and Psychosis, 3 luchadors in the main event. And then, like, The Wall was there, Sherry Martel, Terry Taylor, Shark Boy, who else? Crowbar, all them guys were all there. And, like, halfway in the show, it was me managing the greens, Chadwick managing the steels, and then Tuffy and Shane in a 3-way tag match. And we blew
the house off.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And they left it off of TV and left it off the VHS tape.
That was.
And the reason why is because y'all blew away the big TV stars.
They made them look bad, and I was so proud. I mean, I'd never been prouder of a bunch of dudes, and I mean, because I'd seen these guys week after week in the little 12, 14 seats, and this was the Tattersall show. and they came in and tore the house down. And oh man, that was so great.
Oh,
Chris
yeah.
Crow said Kentucky is starting to pick up some steam for pro wrestling for sure, from what I've seen.
Yeah, it's coming up from what it's been in the last few years, but it's still not to the point that it was back in the day.
Yep.
Because I mean, you saw them Georgetown crowds back in the day, man. And the thing was, is when we talk about the MWA, everybody just assumes it's just Georgetown only, and it's not. We worked loops. We 4 or 5 nights a week, 3-4 nights a week. Different towns and stuff like that. And then we end the weekend in Georgetown. That was our main town, so that was kind of like our TV. Because it was our weekly show. But we did great most everywhere we went and everything. But it was always a hotbed. It was always a hotbed. Sorry,
what's
I'm
missing
rambling
from
a little bit.
wrestling.
Yeah.
Because the MWA has so much great talent come through its doors. I mean, we're right now seeing Jim Chadwick. This man didn't need no script. Whatever he said came off the cup of his mind.
Yeah.
They just said, here, take the mic, and you open the show and you come out for your, promote your match. And he's got everything that it's like you can see him writing the script in his head as he's going through it, and, and he's writing it just like in cursive, and it's like he's putting it up on a big board for you to see as he's talking.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to do.
Yeah.
Where you're just going off the cuff. You're going off the top of their head, and you don't know what direction you're going in until you get to that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
You kind of have a finish of where you want to be, but you've got to play off what the crowd's doing too.
Yeah.
If they're dead and they're not doing anything. Okay, now I've got to turn this a little bit to get them back on to get back to where I got to get to.
Yeah, I kind of did the same thing too. I knew where I was going to end at, but I didn't know how I was going to start or where I was going to go during it and everything. And I said some crazy stuff on the mic, but I always ended where I was supposed to, and I always got over, and I always, got to the point. Let me ask you guys this while I'm thinking about it. In your opinions, in the state of Kentucky only, not outside of Kentucky or anything like that, who are the top mic workers? Since we're talking about mouthpieces, who are the top mic workers in your all's opinions?
What, in the world or just in Kentucky?
Just in Kentucky.
That I've seen.
Like MWA, SCW, guys, just around here like locally and stuff.
Of course, Chadwick, but what I remember as much as anybody was Justice, which came on to be Abyss.
Yep.
He didn't get to talk a whole lot of Georgetown, but when he did,
It meant something.
it was so good, and you were like, this I'm class and you're trash.
you go.
And just the things he would do and the things he'd say. Now he had a mouthpiece most of the time, but he was really good. But I mean, Chadwick, I think personally is as good. Hayes, I don't want to give a whole lot of credit to him, but when he got on the mic, he could get them. Especially if he went up to NWF, he could just walk out and he'd have them in the palm of his hand. He was really good on it. Blade, you're good at it. That's what he was looking for. Is us get
That's what I was fishing for, actually. So,
Danny Fargo.
You're top 12, man. You're definitely top 12.
He's somewhere up there in that top tier.
Yeah.
look at old Donnie.
Look at Donnie. X was really good. Getting them in it, but that's, Chadwick to me's got to be
Number one.
up there.
Yeah, there's no competition. There's Chadwick and there's everybody else trying to be as good as he was.
I'm going Chadwick too.
I'm going to say number one, definitely. I'm concurring with that. Jim Chadwick, gentleman. Jim Chadwick is number one. Number two, I'm going to put myself in this. I'm going to say LoneWolf. I'm going to say LoneWolf Bobby Blade because when I talked, people reacted.
With multiple partners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, there's a 4-way tie for number two. Me, Rated X, Max Sled, Dirty Chris Hayes. And then everybody else is a distant third.
I was going to throw in Rated X
Yep.
because he definitely did help hold the crowd and could definitely move some emotions.
Yes.
And he can turn it on just like that.
Yep.
Now, as ring announcer, I love Max. To me, his voice just set the tone for me. It was, and he hated doing it.
He did.
I'm a wrestler. I'm not a ring announcer. Max, you're a ring announcer. You crush it that way. But I always thought his voice was unbelievable because he'd do the flexion, up and down, and all that part of it was really good with it.
Yeah.
James Mathney decided to say that some of his favorites right now is Stan Sierra and Victor Bruiser on the mic.
Oh, yeah.
But now Vic's retired, right? Didn't Vic?
Yep.
He
Nope.
retired out? Or
He came back, I think.
Did he come back?
I think so.
I mean, that's what all wrestlers. I mean, you did it.
I
mean,
never
you know,
did it.
that's,
I only retired once. That was at the very end. So
I will say, though, that Stan Sierra is definitely up there on good mic skills.
Stan does really well. And Stan's got the look.
Yes.
And
Yes.
people love him. He's got the look of it. Vic, for me, I always wanted the book it to be real. And Vic scare you to death. I mean,
Yes.
He was the type of guy. I remember we did a benefit show in Flemingsburg.
oh gosh.
And it was for a girl, a real good friend of ours,
Yeah.
daughter that had cystic fibrosis. She ended up passing away, but we were doing a benefit show. And Vic's black. In case anybody don't know, it's African American. Whatever you got to say, I'm gonna be politically correct.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate
But
that.
he came out and Hayes is like, "Hey, tell him you're not gonna wrestle unless we get some money." And Vic's like, "No problem." Well, he gets out there and says, "If I don't get $500, I'm not working." And these people are going ballistic. And they're like, "Well, what do we do? What do we do?" And I mean, he had everybody scared to death, but they hated him so bad. I think we got like $670 in less than 5 minutes. And this was a crowd that didn't have a whole lot of. I mean, you're in Flemingsburg, God love their hearts. But they'd already spent a fortune. We had Kat there, we had the commissioner there, we had everybody in the world giving tickets away, for WWE. And Vic's out there. They've been there for an hour and a half. $500 or I don't get in the ring. And he was unbelievable about getting heat and having people hate him just because of the way he looked. And of course, him and Tuffy chop wise.
Vic is the master.
He was awesome.
Yeah,
Yes, he is.
Vic is a master of psychology. There's nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody's better than Vic. Vic's awesome.
Speaking of Tuffy, Braxton Chinese says Tuffy wasn't allowed near a mic.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, never.
And last week, Tuffy finally got to touch a mic. He said,
I mean,
I just want to know what it feels
were you on
like.
delay? All I want was were you on delay because he would have cussed every other breath.
Yeah.
How long did it take for him to say the F word for the first time?
It took him a long. Well, actually, it didn't take him a long time at all. He already cussed as soon as we started out the show. He said, "Yep, I had the bleep button ready."
That's great.
So I'll put somebody in this category, and I don't think it's. Less was always more with him, I thought. And we mentioned him a few minutes ago, Donnie Green.
Yes.
Donnie
Very
Green
good.
had an intimidating force behind what he put on the mic.
Yeah.
And to me, it was always less was more with him. And when he showed up with Rosa, watch out.
The stuff that he did with Rosa and his PTW work,
Yes.
especially, I think was some of the best of his career.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And I got thrown right in the middle between when I first started off in PTW, I got thrown right in the middle, Donnie Green, Chucky Smooth, and Ray the Bear. And one of the first interviews I had to do was with Ray the Bear. And so this rivalry's going on, and we're out back of the flea market in Georgetown. It's show's over with. We're filming the interview and everything. I can't remember exactly what had transpired, but Ray's mad. He's just upset. He walks off. I can't get comments from him. And then out of nowhere, here comes a chair flying across my head. And here comes Donnie Green. So I try to stop Donnie Green for a comment. He's not having it. He's not. He turns around. This is the first interview I've ever done in PTW. I told you, shut your damn mouth. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
I loved it. So now I'm doing these interviews, and then I did a one-on-one with Chucky Smooth. And out of nowhere, backstage, we're in front of that orange PTW curtain. Bam! Here comes Donnie Green, and just knocks us both over. Bowling pins, okay?
Yeah.
Same thing. I was doing a sit-down with Donnie Green. I'm thinking to myself, this guy really hates me. I can't get anything out of him. I'm getting these 1-2 word sentences, these answers. This is pulling teeth. I can't do this. Out of nowhere, here comes Chucky Smooth and knocks him over. I think this is awesome. I go, a few weeks later, I'm going back and I'm showing, we get it posted on Facebook. I'm showing my mom and dad these interviews I'm doing. My mom's like, oh, they can't do that to you. You're trying to do your journalistic duties back there. They can't do that. And my dad, in his infinite wisdom, looked at my mom and said, these are men. but boys are going to be boys. Now, Donnie Green and Rosa down at the old PTW Sportatorium. Good stuff down there. Good stuff between Georgetown and Paris with Donnie Green. So, one night, traveling back from the PTW Sportatorium in Paris, and this was right about the time Chris Stapleton was getting really big. Okay, everybody started understanding and knowing, okay, Chris Stapleton is from Kentucky. He's starting to gain a little momentum. Well, Donnie Green's entrance music was Outlaw State of Mind by Stapleton. So I'm driving down Paris Pike, middle of the night, kind of late because, wrestlers, we all like to stick around and talk to each other after the show. So about this time, it's 10:30, and I'm still thinking Donnie's mad at me about something. And I turn on Sirius Outlaw Country, and I hear, "Cut my teeth on Daddy longer," whatever that lyric is. Bad News Long. I don't know what it was from Chris Stapleton. I stopped dead in my tracks on Paris Pike, and I thought, Donnie Green's in the back of my seat right now. This hillbilly is going to slit my throat here on Paris Pike. Now, you want to know the other side of that story?
What was that?
3 years later, I DJ'd his wedding.
That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love Donnie Green.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
When I knew him, he played Rocky Top. Rocky Top was the song.
Yeah, and Guitar Town. You remember
Oh, yeah.
that?
I mean, look,
He's on fire, by God.
he brought that picture behind your head right there. Guess those bare nose.
He's on
I
fire,
didn't
too,
even
and he's
notice
on
that.
fire.
Boy, that's an old picture.
Yep.
Look at those pants.
You gotta remember
Holding
when
that
him and
towel,
Bobby,
too.
When I got involved in it, we came out to Rocky Top because we did the Tennessee gig.
Yeah.
And it used to get great heat that
Oh,
way. It was,
absolutely
it was
would.
easy heat in Mount Sterling to bring out the two guys out waving the Tennessee flag.
It wasn't just Mount Sterling. It was Cynthiana always caught the heat, and every time they played it.
I remember when he was babyface and everything, he'd win the match or whatever like that, and he'd get in the ring. Guitar Town would start playing. He'd bring the kids up in the ring to do the strut with him, and he'd strut across the ring, and people loved him, man. It was awesome. It was great.
Yes, they did. Braxton said, "Bobby, Dad just texted me out of nowhere and said, LoneWolf Enterprise. What's that?"
LoneWolf Enterprises was it was a collection of amazing wrestlers that included me at the helm, managing people like Tuffy, Dragon, Michael Payne, and is that it? That's it.
Yeah.
It was 4 of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was amazing. It was Roger Ruffin was booking the MWA at this point that Lone Wolf Enterprises started, and me and Tuffy alone would make Roger so mad at us and everything because we would go out there and we'd get over, and he didn't want us to get over like we did, and he'd just be like, "Stop getting over, stop doing good," and we're like, "Hey, we can't help it."
So what was the Goof Troop?
Oh gosh, the Goof Troop.
Tell me about the Goof
Oh,
Troop.
Lord.
The Goof Troop was me,
Max.
Larry D, Jordan Cage, and Mike Cornette.
Oh my goodness.
And we all, there was really nothing to it or anything like that. Somebody said that we were a bunch of goofs, so we got a bunch of shirts made that said goof across of it. And we started wearing them to during the shows, and I would go out there and I'd wrestle. I won the UWF Heavyweight Championship wearing a goof shirt. So there's a picture of me holding up the belt and all proud and happy, and it says goof across. But it was just, it was making fun of that comment that said that we were, just a bunch of goofs and stuff like that. But
That's how you do it, though.
Yeah.
You turn around on them.
exactly.
You mentioned a name, and I want you guys to rehash a little bit of his history here. Cornette.
Mike Cornette was awesome.
He should get probably a little bit more credit on the
Yes.
mic than what we've talked about.
That's why
Yeah.
I brought his name up.
He, even though he tried to steal all my thunder with my son, Austin Tyler Morris, and he tried to do all the corrupt him and instead of him doing good things. But Cornette was great about being the little guy, the weasel. The PTW thing. I know we're talking about MWA, but the angle he did with Hustle.
And it ended in the boxing match.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And but he was really good about it, and he took a lot of our old school memories, Cornette and the Racket, and he made it current. We
Right.
could still do it, and he was great on the mic about that part of it.
Yeah. I wish he hadn't stepped away. You know, he was excellent.
The job wise, he had to. You
I
know.
remember amazingly bad suits. Like, how could you not fit a suit that? If he could find a suit that wouldn't fit or just didn't look like it should be worn in public, he'd find it.
Yep.
And wear it proudly.
Yep.
So I'll ask you guys this because I'm on this MWA kick now, thanks to Johnny, and I'm learning as
Yep.
well, and I'm glad to be here with you all talking. Any interactions previously with Fargo, Dale, man, what do you remember about those interactions?
I remember.
The
Oh, I'm
kids gotta
sorry.
eat.
Huh?
The kids gotta eat. Gonna be a
That's
long
right.
time. No, Haas was for me. He was the one. You know, that was the guy that helped me get into the business. Him and X, and he worked with I had a crazy schedule with the car business. I don't know when I could be there or not, but no matter how many times I was there or not there, he always treated me with respect and made sure the guys, hey, this guy's gonna be here. He's got good idea. You know, let's see what we can do with him, carry him along. But Danny was unbelievable, and Dale Man, even though I wasn't there when he was there, I mean that's the legend.
Dale, man, I said when I was on with X a few weeks ago that Dale, man, is the Bruno Sammartino of Kentucky, and I mean that. Dale was amazing. He was a big, tough, rough mountain man, and I was scared to death of Dale, man, you know, because his reputation preceded him, and he had a great reputation, and
They killed two guys
yeah,
and got away with it.
yeah. Well, that's not so
Is
great,
that-
but
I was going to say, is that
That's a shoot.
is that-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
That's
Yeah.
that's a sheep.
yeah, it was that.
about that, and I was wondering.
Yeah, one of them was a guy named Outlaw West's brother, and Outlaw West kept working for him. But anyway, Dale was, you know, rough, tough, big mountain man and everything, super strong. He could work. He could talk. He was awesome, man. And everything was believable in the ring. He was amazing, man. And he actually retrained me in the business and everything. So, you know, I fully thank him, you know, for doing that. And he gave me, you know, at the time I was skinny, believe it or not. And I had long blonde hair, so I mean, he gave this long blonde-haired, skinny, shy kid a shot, and you know, and here I am, still 24, still doing it, somewhat. But you know, I thank him. Dale Man was amazing. Danny Fargo believed in me and everything. Like I said, he was the first guy that allowed me to talk and develop my character. You know. He allowed me to develop the character of Pretty Terrific Bobby Blade, and then later on Lone Wolf Bobby Blade. So I thank him for that too and everything, you know. So and he gave me a big push there, and everything too, with a group called Bad Company, and it was great.
And I know I say this all the time, but my family did help set up rings for Fargo for many years. My mom has memories where she did a mud wrestling match actually for Fargo.
Well,
I was like,
you really
what?
got to throw your hat off to all the guys that really were the mentors to all, like the Greens and the guys that taught Bear and you, and I mean that older generation. Those guys were a different level of tough.
Yeah.
I mean,
They really were.
when you're taking when you're taking a slam on the concrete floor, and that's just like halfway through the match.
Yeah.
Because you still got more work to do. I mean, those guys were working with broken limbs, and you know, if I dislocate something, I'm still gonna finish the match.
That's right.
That's that level of toughness these guys had.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can see who had good teachers and who didn't, especially at MWA.
Yeah.
You had to be able to work to be there. I mean, it wasn't one that, hey, we're going to take you off the street or you got trained up the road. If you got in with one of our guys, even from Fargo all the way up until the end, you better be able to work because you would get embarrassed bad if you could. I mean,
Exactly.
How hard was that to get in?
Real hard, especially with Hayes. He was extremely picky about what he wanted in, almost to a detriment. There were some guys that we probably should have done some stuff with that we didn't, or we give them one shot and thanks, that's it. But we had a unique family.
Yeah.
It was a family of probably 20, 25 guys that we're still all talk. You know, if you call one of us, they'll come running. But we kept it that close knit, and if you wasn't a part of that group, I mean, it was really hard to get in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really hard.
I started in '91, and I worked with.
Hello.
Uh-oh.
Hello.
We got Aaron Rose on.
Uh-oh.
Aaron Rose.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hang up on him.
Hey. Hey. How's everybody doing?
Doing great, man. How you doing?
Well, you know, we had some family stuff come up, so I'm taking care of that. But you know, I wish I could be in studio with you guys tonight.
Yeah, we wish you were here too. I'd rather have you hear than Otis. So
Thanks.
And I'd rather have you here than Blade. So
I'm loving the room today.
Guys, you want to hear a funny story real quick?
Go for it.
This pertains to me and Neil. Neil and I first met back in the year 2002 as Neil was the PA announcer for the Lexington MWA hockey team.
That's awesome.
Now, here's the fun part about all this. That is actually the first time I actually got. That's the first time that I actually started to do public speaking, because one of the games that we did, I randomly became the in-crowd PA announcer because the person who had that duty ended up showing up drunk one night.
Oh boy.
Do you remember that, Neil?
Oh yeah. Middle
And that was my first taste of public speaking.
Men of War, that was my third professional hockey team that I announced for.
really,
The first one was in
Okay.
Waco. The Waco Wizards was my first one. And then came to Lexington and did the Thoroughblades and then the Men of War.
oh, you did the Thoroughblades too?
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
I didn't know that.
I was at a lot of the Thoroughblades
I
games.
went too. I remember.
Me too.
I remember there was one game that like everybody on the ice was fighting. It was amazing.
That was the Hershey Bears and the
Yes, it was.
Thoroughblades.
Yes, it was. It was great.
I did that and arena football at Rupp Arena too. That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
We were a sponsor for them. That's killer. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. And that's how Neil and I got to know each other, and you know, and then our contacts ran for years. He ended up working in radio with me at LM Communications, and took over for traffic reporting when my duties were relieved, and then we stayed in contact ever since doing wrestling and stuff like that. So, man, me and Neil go back even further than you and I, Bobby.
Really?
Yeah. Because you and I met in, what, 06 when I was working for the Legends?
Yeah, something like that. 05, 06,
That's what-
something.
That's when I was doing the tiny gimmick.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I ever actually spoke to you in person was in passing, and that was coming out of Hooters after a pay-per-view one night.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good,
Yeah.
good grief. Man.
Yeah, I was standing there at my car waiting to get in, and you were walking by, and I think you had your tiny gimmick on. And I said, "What's up, man?" And you said, "Hey," and you just kept on walking.
Yeah, I was tired because I had just come from a ball game that night. And, like, I was not connecting anything at all.
Yeah.
It was not happening. But I'll tell you what, you know, so, you know, the reason why we're doing this show is for the MWA. And I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for the MWA, I would not be doing what I'm doing now. Because I got a lot of great experiences there.
Yeah.
Even with Mark Morris, I guess.
He can't hear you. He doesn't have the headset on.
I ain't gonna on you, I promise.
It's just our secret, so.
But yeah, you know, there's a lot of good things that came out of the MWA, and I learned a lot of stuff too. You know, the value of being a multi-tooled player there. Where I was doing sound, where I was doing video and doing posters and websites and social media. I mean, that's why I learned the value of being the type of person that, I could do different things because that's why I learned with MWA, the value of it.
Yep.
We're not laughing at you, Aaron. We're laughing at this little old lady in the front row flipping off Chris Hayes, I believe.
Yep, Dirty Chris Hayes.
Oh my gosh!
Yes.
Are y'all watching old MWA videos?
We're watching Royal Engagement from the Continental Win.
I was there.
So was I.
Yeah.
Fact, this is when I had long hair.
Nice.
You had long hair?
I had hair back then.
Oh my goodness.
Somewhere I keep
Was that
looking for myself.
was it a mullet or a Jerry curl? I can't tell.
It was a mullet.
Okay.
It was a rat tail that slowly morphed into a mullet.
So you announced this show.
No, I was in the crowd.
Oh,
Yeah.
so that was Slick Rick in the
Slick Rick.
Yep.
And speaking of Slick Rick, good grief! Talk about learning from one of the greats. I had the good opportunity to talk to him a lot when I was starting up, especially when I go up and visit NWF and stuff. And I even had the opportunity to announce the show for NWF that Rick couldn't be at. So, that goes to show that the trust that Roger Ruffin had in me. Because he saw what we did at MWA. He was there. NWF was a huge part of the MWA.
Yep.
So,
And
I've always go ahead.
Aaron, I think that I'd always said that the ring announcer is the first person that people see on a wrestling show, and it's always the first image that the paying customer has in their mind when they come to a show for the first time. And I think that you have excelled in being a great first. What am I looking for? First sight.
Yep.
That's not what you
At a
said
show.
before you called in. Why are you changing now?
Well, there's responsibility being the first impression to a wrestling show.
First
Yep.
impression, yeah.
And you either set a tone of we are going to look professional, or we are just going to be the guys that are just trying to look professional.
Exactly.
You can tell,
Right.
You can easily tell when somebody's trying to look professional as opposed to being professional.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like the opening match, that sets the precedent for what you're gonna see, on the show.
Yeah.
Right. And Neil, you did a great job of that too. No matter what you were doing, you had that. Number one, you have the voice, obviously, but number two, when you were going into something, I always see you with your notebook ready to go, man. That notebook you always had on you, whether it be in radio or doing hockey or whatever.
This is the only thing I didn't bring it to. I left it. I've still got it. Actually, I still got the LM notebook, so I still.
Do you really?
Yeah, I still carry it. I still use it. I really don't work anymore. I'm pretty much retired now. I'm doing a jazz show in Harrisburg next month. I'm emceeing that.
For the
But-
Jazz Festival?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Fort
That's a
Harris Jazz
that's a
Festival.
big show. You'll be
Yeah.
surprised. It's packed.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It'll be packed.
But I loved working with the MWA guys because there was respect in the locker room. It's when people talk about respect for the business, it was something that was practiced, and if it wasn't practiced, somebody was going to get preached to about it.
Exactly.
And if you didn't respect the people that you were going to be doing the show with, you didn't deserve to be in the back room running your mouth about anything. And that's something that's basically every locker room I'd been in, basically, except for a couple in Lexington. I think, for the most part, everybody out in the, from Mount Sterling, Estill Street, all of it. I mean, respect was number one in the back.
That's right,
Especially with
Anthony
the boys.
Presley. He says professionalism is the most important.
Oh, shout out to Anthony Presley. He's the man.
Yes. Loved working
I did too.
with Anthony.
Did too.
But professional.
Well, I'll tell you what. My first trips back into wrestling, being able to work under Anthony, man. Some of those events right off the bat, I got to fulfill some bucket list announcements there.
Dude, Booker T, man. The show with Booker T was awesome. That was
I love that show.
What a great guy to have in the locker room, man. He
and he got out there and backed me up. I was like, oh, I was not ready.
But he was great to have in the locker room because he was very personable, very talkative. He talked to everybody, introduced himself to everybody. He offered to watch everybody's match. If you asked him, he would give you critique on it and everything too. He would tell you what you did wrong, but he'd also say, here's how to correct that. Here's what you can work on, to do it better, and stuff like that. And but he was amazing, man, and he complimented me that night. He said I had no fear and had great ring presence, and I was.
In other words, he sucked.
Yes,
and
it's true.
that's the way to make something good to say about it.
Couldn't tell me nothing else that night.
So that night, Bobby, Aaron, and I are doing commentary. So main event, Booker T takes his tie off. He's choking out our champion. He's got the tie around his neck around the ring post. And we're just going nuts. We're losing our mind. So Booker T turns around. He folds up that tie. He turns right around. He lays it on that table. And he smiled at all three of us. Nobody saw this except us three. And I can't remember if we were just speechless or we just kind of all had a smile on our face too. Like, okay, Booker T is acknowledging what we are doing. So afterwards, I was talking to him in the locker room. I said, you know what? Thank you so much for taking that tie, laying it down. It may be a small little thing to you, but to myself, to Bobby, to Aaron, I said, that was huge. And I said, we love that. And he said, you know what? I heard you guys. I thought you guys were doing a great job, and I wanted to get you guys involved somehow. He goes, and I just came up with that, and I learned about getting the announcers involved somehow. I learned that from Dusty Rhodes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he was amazing.
That's awesome.
He was an amazing asset to the locker room that night.
Yes.
If we could have somebody like Booker T there at every show, would be set,
He was so good with everybody that night that before the show, he was trying to talk me into giving up my coffee addiction. That's how good he was.
I remember doing a show in Carlisle at the National Guard Armory with Ricky Morton, and he put on a clinic on how you do a wrestling match. And I mean, all the guys, this was one of the few matches where I saw one of the big guys where everybody in the back was watching him work this match because everything he did was a lesson in how you do a wrestling match from beginning to end.
Ricky was amazing.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely
Yes, he
amazing.
is.
Yep.
Andy Pretty said, we will be back next year 100.
Oh, New South? I love New South. I hope so.
Me too.
New South was amazing.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And he understood how to be professional as an owner and promoter.
I can't. He's always treated me great. So
Yes.
Exactly. He's also the one that allowed our championship to become a championship officially and be defended at New South. Now it's on Icon Lee, who's defended at EWA. Another good promotion. I'll tell you what, Adrian Alexander actually impresses me. I wish that he'd watch the MWA tapes and bring a little bit of MWA into it because old school Memphis style can go a long way.
oh yeah.
So I'll ask.
And
Hey, Aaron, hang on. I want to get to you on this, okay?
Yeah.
Because Johnny, you brought up something that was on my mind a little bit, and while we all have us, Mark, I want you to jump in on this too. What would MWA look like right now in 2024?
WWE. And here's why I say that. Triple H has taken over, and their ratings have gone through the roof. Their house shows are sold out. And really, it's the same people working, but he's telling stories. And the one thing from Delman to Fargo to Hayes to Ended, we were storytellers. People believed. You talk about professionalism in the back. We didn't tell everybody the finishes. It was what was back here was back there. But did we look like WWE? No. But with the technology and the people that we know, with you all and Jeff and all the technologies out there, William, Warfield, and then the talent that we had, man, that locker room was amazing. I mean, think about it. We did a story. God bless, Donnie Green's son passed away, and we did a memorial, a battle royal thing for it. And as part of the storyline, Larry D came out and crushed Donnie Green with the trophy for Donnie's son. I mean, the heat. There was people going, "Wow!" But they back then, the guys didn't care. We'd make it as real as you wanted it to be. I mean, sometimes you thought it was crossing the line, but it was just one of the. To me personally, that's what we would be. The storytelling would be phenomenal.
Some nights were real hard on the security guys.
Yeah.
See that real hard.
I always thought that, I'm with you on that too and everything. I think the angles and the storytelling and everything was top notch, second to none and everything. And the thing about it was the MWA, when they would book these angles and everything, there was always a hint of believability in it and everything too. So I mean, you believed that Rated X was a jerk. You believed that Bobby Blay was a jerk. You believed that Doug Vines was a jerk. You believed that Billy Marino was a superhero, sent from Metropolis to save the day. You believed Wildcat Chris Harris, was Batman, stuff like that.
That's right.
I believe Tuffy carried his mama's groceries home every day. I believe that.
Always.
Every day.
We had guys that were so believable and everything, and they connected with the crowd amazingly. And that's the main thing. Like I was saying earlier, talk at the crowd and talk to the crowd. Everybody talked to the crowd, and we involved the crowd in everything that we did and everything. And it was everything. Not everything was a hit, but we rarely had any misses. We had more hits than we had misses, and everything was great, man. It was. I challenge anybody to book a better show overall than the MWA had on a regular basis back then.
And everybody said, "Well, that's easy because you all work for them." No, it wasn't easy. We spent hours and hours and days and weeks trying to build this up to make it believable. I mean, you take Chucky. Chucky started out front row, then he was a security guard.
Yep.
And it was forever before we let him get into the ring, Hayes, to get him in. But one thing you said, talk at the crowd or include them in it. I think why 11 years after MWA shut down, and didn't shut down for lack of fans, it didn't shut down for lack of support. I moved to Savannah. Hayes had 5 kids. Driving 20 hours round trip just got to be more than we could handle. We'd probably still be running. But it was to the point where the fans felt they were a part of it.
Yeah.
You look at the 20,000 views the MWA review, the last couple of months have got. They relive, that's the glory days.
Yeah.
You always hear those guys,
That's right.
That's the glory days. Back in my day, I walked to school in the snow, but this was the glory days. This was when they felt a part of it, and the fans were as much a part of it as all the workers.
Exactly.
It's the kids that are grown now that remember the shows that we did.
Yeah.
And I was going to a restaurant somewhere in Paris, and the maitre d' was a little girl. It said, "I was a little girl when you were announcing a show in Mount Sterling," and I was like, "Man, you're 20 something now," and like my kid's 23. So
Yeah. But the thing is, though, is the MWA, and I don't see this with any other shows, maybe BBW, Bad to the Bone Wrestling, but the MWA especially, people have more fond memories of the MWA in Kentucky and outlying states and everything than they do anything else. It was very Memphis style, very Memphis based, style to it and everything. And I think that hit with a lot of people, resonated with a lot of people, and we had a great fan base, and everybody looks back on it fondly. Like you said, 2013 is when it closed down. It's 2024, 11 years later, and we're still talking about it. And people still message me on Facebook talking about what a great time they had in Georgetown, what a great time they had in Winchester, what a great time they had in Richmond, wherever else we went and everything. It was great, man.
Well, and at that time, we were the only ones probably doing Memphis style.
Yeah.
There were some other promotions out there, but they were doing ECW or more hardcore or, some other things. At the time, I think we were probably because Roger was more spots. He had the athletes that could do crazy stuff, but we knew what our limits were, and we tried to keep everybody in that area, but they could storytell and work. When you were telling a story, the work was unbelievable.
Yep.
Anthony Presley just put you, Otis, and Aaron over. He said, I think Aaron Rose, Bobby Blade, and Otis was such a big part of our success at New South. The commentary team was top-notch and the best in Kentucky.
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And
awesome.
Ready X is tuned in. What's up, Ready X?
What up, X?
Can you block him? Just
You know, I would have loved, had MWA, still been around right now, I would have loved to have Otis calling some action. Otis into the commentary team. I would love to have William running the production for it. I think it would have been, with the technology today, I'm gonna put William over a little bit here. I'm gonna put Preston over. The man takes a trailer fully equipped, and we can produce anything that we possibly want. Golly, next, football season started. He takes that trailer wherever he wants to go, and you can do 3, 4, 5 camera. You can do 6 cameras with him, and can you imagine doing a show where you have 6 cameras available? I mean, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
And the, excuse me, the pressure is on him to produce and make it look
Yeah.
good. You don't even know he's there. We don't know. We were questioning, hey, is the King of Stream here tonight? Well, we didn't think he'd be there. Sure enough, he's got this huge trailer parked behind the building, and he is so good at what he does. If he was here right now, Johnny,
Yep.
I don't want you to take offense to this, okay?
No, that's fine.
But I just, because you always do a great job too, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way. But William makes it look like we're on ESPN.
Yes.
I mean, he's got the multi-split screen. He's got like a little crawl down at the bottom.
He does.
Going at the time. I mean, he's really good, and just to pull it all together. And if something goes wrong, or if we want to add something very quick, he's like, "All right, no problem, I'll do it. I'll take care of it."
He does.
One of the, and I want to circle back to Chadwick for a minute, Gentleman Jim. One of the best things I remember. I never had a chance to work with him. Saw him at the Continental, which was a great honor. But when we did in New South, when we did the Gentleman Jim Chadwick show for his family, and I'm standing outside the PrepSpin.com trailer, and
Minga Beef Jerky.
there you go. Yep.
Big sponsor for him.
Jim Chadwick's son walked up, and he was like, "I have an interest in all this, and I don't even know how it works." And I said, "Come on in here. We'll show you."
Yeah.
And I just, to me, that just kind of thought like, you know what? I didn't work with Jim Chadwick, but he's still watching us.
Yeah.
That's right.
Jim was great to work with. Sometimes me and him would butt heads. You remember that. Sometimes me and him would butt heads, but at the end of the day, we were always brothers. We were always, best friends and stuff like that. So, I love Jim Chadwick,
That's who inspired my sequence I wear.
Yeah.
Now, Neil, let me ask you something, and this is relating to Jim Chadwick. Did he ever do the fake microphone throw to you?
No, he didn't.
So I guess that was something he did with me, where he would fake out this. He would do a fake microphone throw, like if I was across the ring or outside. One time he let go, and boy, I didn't know if that mic was going to take a beating or not, but I caught it. But whoo, that was the thing he liked to do with me, was do that fake microphone throw. And it was also Chadwick that put Bobby Blade up to his now infamous stunt he pulled on me at KCW.
How many times has Bobby Blade spit water in your face? Because he did me once.
Actually, I never got that, but he backed me into the corner with a smelly bandana.
You're missing it. He did that to me in Estill Street.
I used to spit water on everybody back in the day. It was awesome. People would get so mad.
Well, it just caught me completely off guard because I didn't even expect it coming. I was like, is he really going to spit water in my face? He just spit water in my face.
So we're talking about ring announcers, commentary team, all the media involved with the various promotions we've been involved in. What are some of your all's favorite ribs within media?
Good question.
because I got one on you.
What's that?
So this goes back to PTW when we were at the Sportatorium in Paris. I got smart because I was engineering our commentary at the time, so I was bringing in my laptop, recording audio, bringing in a mixer, making sure headphone amps were all hooked up and everything. Do you know where I'm going with this? Okay, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. So I got smart and decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to run a producer mic to the backstage area.
Oh,
that
gosh.
way, if somebody needs to come in and tell us something or maybe get us straight about a storyline, I've got a mic back there. I've split the audio channel, so we're going to hear it in our left earphone, okay? So I get Bobby on, and he's sitting there. I said, Bobby, come over here. Help me check out these microphones, okay? So we're testing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hello, we're going through all that and everything. And then all of a sudden, you hear this sultry voice just come out of nowhere, go, hello, Bobby Blade. And start whispering sweet nothings into his ear, and his face turned beet red. He's speechless for like a minute, and this voice is going on and on and on. He doesn't know what to say. His eyes are like, where's this voice coming from? I didn't tell him what I did. It was Lexi Green.
Oh, Lord.
Backstage. I said, hey, would you get on I'm going to test these mics out with Bobby. Would you get on, just whisper a few things in his ear?
It wasn't sweet nothings that she
No,
was
it
whispering. It was, whoo.
He went to the bathroom and left for an hour.
Hey, I had
Come
to.
on.
I had to.
Well,
He came out with napkins in his hands.
And we got to talking about that 2 weeks ago with Lexi, and we're just dying laughing over that. That's one of my all-time favorites on
Oh,
here. And
my
I
gosh.
don't do it much at all.
Well,
I don't do it, but that was fun on you.
if we had the technology then that we have today at the MWA shows that we did around Central Kentucky, I mean, a whole lot of stuff would have been viral a long, long time ago. There was a battle royal in Cynthiana. I believe it was Cynthiana at the City Hall gym, and Kyle took a dump off the top rope. He went a header off the top rope, completely headstand over the top rope and flipped down to the floor. Didn't see him hit the floor, but everybody in that gym heard him hit the floor because he pancaked right down on the floor, and everybody thought he was dead.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh. But hey, Mark can't hear this, but Bobby, maybe you can help. There's a show that we did at the Legion Hall in Paris, and somebody I think was doing a suplex, and their feet went through the roof. Do you remember who that was?
Was it Ronnie Roberts? It wasn't Ronnie, was it?
Maybe. Like they did the suplex, and their feet went through the ceiling tiles because they had that drop ceiling.
Was it MWA?
Yeah, it was MWA, I think.
Oh, I don't know. It might be Ronnie. I don't know.
Like it was toward the end of the time there,
Well,
in
Ronnie,
Paris, possibly.
yeah, Ronnie didn't start working for the MWA until Winchester days. And that was
Okay.
that was in 2012, 2013 when he started working there because he came with LJ Jameson, and they were the Pretty Boys.
Pretty boys.
Yeah, they were the tag team champions for a little bit, and they were working with me and Max, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Me and Max, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
There,
so it wasn't Ronnie.
I don't recall who it was.
Was before we didn't have the communication you wanted, but with Dale Bass. Dale would walk outside, and we'd give him the finishes, and they'd all be opposite of what they're truly going to be.
Oh, my God.
Because we knew it was killing him to wait to announce it. So every match was opposite of what the true finish was going to be. So we'd get up there, we go to the finish, and 1, 2, and 3, and Dale would say, "And your winner's Bob." Larry D. Larry D. won that Bob. Because we'd have it opposite. Because it killed him because he had to know what the finishes were. And we're like, Dale, just watch it. So then it was almost a month we did that straight. He's like, "You're all messing with me, ain't you?" I'm like, "No, Dale, they changed it out in the ring." That was old school stuff we could do back then. We didn't have
Yes.
Yeah, you were talking about ribs and media and all that stuff and everything. We're doing a thing now where at the EWA shows where we will do like mic checks and equipment checks and all that stuff, and Me and Tiny and Otis and maybe Tripping Balls, or Austin Medler, whoever's doing it with us, we'll sit there and we'll just say the most outlandish stuff because we know this guy named Adam Asher. He's doing the editing and stuff. So he has to listen to all this stuff and everything. So we put little comments directed toward him, and we'll say some like dirty, nasty, filthy stuff and everything. And it's all Aaron. It's not me at all. I'm not being filthy at all.
Shut up. Yeah, whatever.
But he keeps telling us he's going to do like a big supercut of some of these pre-show things that we've done and everything. I really, really hope he does that because that would be phenomenal.
He's going to. He's going to.
It'd be so funny. So funny. Put it up on YouTube. He'd have to censor some of it, though.
Yes.
So,
and they press
we'll start acting like Beavis and Butthead and Tom Anderson. And I'll go, damn it, Bobby. Are you the little bastard's been, I won't finish it or anything, but we got into that, and I mean, we had a blast with it.
Yeah.
Andy Pressey's chimed in. He said, Donnie and Bobby Green was in the ring with me in Mount Sterling the night I hit the ring pole and hit an artery above my eye. I lost a pint of blood in 2 minutes.
Oh, God.
Danny Fargo was freaking out.
Man. I'll sell propane accessories.
Hey, that's a pretty good Hank kill. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I really want to see that supercut because we said some stupid things. And then Bobby, of course, you and I, we remember for a while we were doing the show intros to the EWA shows, and we could never get it right first time.
Yeah, but that second time we'd hit it though.
Right, right. And well, there was the 007 show. That was the show we were having a really hard time with.
Yeah. Because I was trying to get over that I was Agent 0069. And I got about halfway through it, and I got tongue twisted and started laughing. I was like, crap. But I didn't say crap. I didn't say fudge.
No, you didn't.
Hey, Tiny.
You definitely did not say that.
While we're here, and I guess we'll start with Neil, and then we'll go to Blade, and then Tiny, you and Otis. What is your favorite moment you called, favorite moment you were a part of? What's your favorite event? What's the thing that sticks out? You know what? I was there. I was there. I was part of that. What would be your top?
Watching the local guys do so well in the Tattersall show when they worked with the big guys, and the big guys just were working, and it was the local guys took the house. That was my favorite moment and will always be my favorite moment in wrestling.
Yeah. I think mine, I've got two of them that I can remember greatly and vividly. One of them just happened, Morgan Jane getting speared by Chris Crow.
Yes.
We absolutely lost our minds when that happened, and I was like, Morgan Jane is dead! Morgan Jane is dead! I was really JRing it up. But it was a great call. All of us reacted amazingly. You can see us jump up, when it happened, and that was a great call. The other one is Larry D winning the MWA Heavyweight Championship in Winchester at Fannie Bush Elementary School on the 40th anniversary show. I remember the call that I did was Larry D has just became the MWA Heavyweight Champion of the World, and that was included on the MWA 40th Anniversary DVD commercials and everything too. And it was such a great little sound bite and everything. That was that's probably my all-time favorite call that I did.
I think for me, yeah, that 40th anniversary show, just everything that we did that night was absolutely magical. I really don't have, in that sense, like there's no real moment in that one where I'm just like, that was it right there, it was the whole show. That whole show from top to bottom was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
From the moment that, you know, we saw all of our Hall of Fame inductees to where Bobby got his surprise induction, to Larry D winning that championship. It was a great, great night.
I got Bobby in. It's his work, but it was my idea to make Bobby the last member because I thought he fit that class really well. And Hayes is like, that's probably the best idea you ever came up with. And Blake gives me no credit for it, even though he did all the work.
I give him
he earned it. You know, he took all the bumps, but it was still again stud. You know, this is a fact. It was my idea to put Bobby Blade in on the 40th anniversary show, and that is probably one of my top 5 accomplishments that I've ever done in wrestling.
And I appreciate that. I really do. Seriously, that was the best. That's the top moment of my 33-year career. The top.
That was
That's all the praise.
absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
But
And-
watching Larry D grow up, we got to watch him grow up.
Yeah.
From
Literally.
his first match to his last match.
Yeah.
We got to see all of it.
Yeah,
pretty much.
to add on to that as well, when I was wrestling in Georgetown when I first started over there, Larry was coming as a little kid. He was sitting front row every single week right there, you know, watching us as a little kid. He looked like a little miniature Big Van Vader sitting there, you know. And we always called him Baby Vader. So.
And I think one other moment for me, and this one is definitely a little more on the personal side. It was the fact that I got the opportunity to get back into the business. My very first show back with Gen Next in February 2022, that was like just a random last minute thing. But obviously I've been working up to get to debut with New South when Anthony brought it back. And, you know, that very first show I had the honor to, you know, introduce guys like, you know, the Guns, Billy Gunn, of course, Larry D in the main event, you know, things like that. For me, it was, you know, kind of my first big thing back that I did after being sick for so long. And it was just kind of a big step forward in my life. So that for me, yeah, that's some of my greatest moments.
Hell yeah.
So I'm going to kind of piggyback on what Aaron said. A couple of my favorite moments, and it's constantly continuing every time I get to sit next to you and Aaron are my favorite moments, because as we were kind of joking around and starting off, and you're going to slap me over this, sometimes I just don't know if I belong there. I'm just kind of happy-go-lucky wrestling announcer, and I love every minute of it. I love, Neil, you were talking about this, your notebook. You know this. I love the process of prepping for wrestling shows. When I do a deep dive till 4 a.m. in the morning, multiple nights. I love preparing for this, and every opportunity I get to sit with you guys and do one of the things that I love the most in life is announcing wrestling. Those are my favorite moments.
Yeah.
To be able to sit next to Aaron and doing that first New South show and knowing what he went through prior and being able to sit next to him and the man who was responsible for getting me into all that, you know, that will always stick out to me as probably my favorite moment to get to work with him.
Yeah.
And the fact that, you know, we had Billy Gunn in the ring. We had Jerry the King Lawler. We've gotten to do this together. You, Aaron, and I sitting there calling a match with Booker T. Just some of these moments that we never thought we would be able to do. And we're doing all this together. I'm loving this.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about this for weeks. I really am. And you, when I decided to retire from PTW in February 2020, before everything got shut down by the pandemic, you were one of the first ones to reach out. I still got that email.
That was, you always did it with class. You add credibility to the product. You know, a lot of times, I will make this guy announce and whatever, you know, he'll shut up. And a lot of people get abused that do it. They try to take advantage of it. But you did it with with class and style, and like I said, you can tell it was appreciated, but that you enjoyed it. And there's nothing better than being a promoter or a booker, owner, whatever you want to call us, and seeing the guys actually appreciate it but enjoy it and know, hey, we're helping fulfill a dream. I mean, growing up, that's all we did was wrestle. We didn't know any better. We didn't know whether they'd ever get to do it. You know, we talked about Saturday mornings. We tried to emulate what they did. And it was just one of those things that you knew it was there, and you've always done it extremely well. It was really good.
Well, and connecting with what you just talked about, and you mentioned his name, Neil, Larry D, and watching him and watching his career. Granted, I kind of got in on half of that, but I'll never forget this. And there's a point I want to make about it. Was we were talking about Jeff Waldrich and following him around, making that documentary on legendary Larry D. So we did a couple of media opportunities with Larry, and I interviewed Larry in front of a live audience prior to some of the PTW shows. Well, prior to a show at the Sportatorium, we went on for about an hour, and towards the end, I started asking some really deep stuff, and he started crying towards the end of this. And pulled it together. We ended the interview. We were talking backstage. He goes, I wasn't expecting any of that from you whatsoever. And I said, well, that's good that you didn't expect it, because I wanted to get your emotion. I know you're an emotional guy. I wanted to pull that out of you somehow. But for him to sit there and get emotional and cry about the sport that he loves so much, and to get that emotion out of him and understand that this means something to us. It does. All of us that are around here at this table, Aaron on the phone, all the great talent that we've worked with, this means something to us. And we are emotionally attached to the wrestling industry. Yeah. And we always will be.
Yeah.
That's right. And Omega said Bobby Blade, he's never felt like more of a star in his life than he does when you're on commentary.
I really appreciate that, Omega. You're awesome, dude, for real. He told me that at the last Richmond show down in the dressing room and everything. He said that he works a lot of shows, and he said that there's never been anybody on commentary that makes him seem better and better than he is, than when I'm on the commentary and everything, because I blow it up real big, and and I pump him up on the his entrance and stuff like that and everything. And the thing is, though, is he's such a great talent that it's not hard to get excited about him coming out to the ring. It's not hard to get excited about what you're getting ready to see when he's wrestling, stuff. So Omega is you are the cause of me doing such a good job and making you seem like a star on commentary, because you are that good.
And because he knows to give the people what they want, not to talk at them, but to talk to them.
Yes, exactly.
Well, when the in-ring product and the talent is good, we're good.
That's right. Jacob Ratliff also shares Omega's sentiments about you.
I appreciate that too, Jacob. Jacob's awesome. Jacob will whoop the crap out of people, and I just pop for him. I pop for him on commentary, and I know sometimes I get too loud and all that stuff. But the thing is, though, is if you're getting excited on commentary, the guys in the ring are doing something right. And if you can draw the commentators in, here's what I've told you this before. If the commentary team is not getting excited about what they're seeing in the ring, then why should the crowd?
Exactly.
Why should the people watching?
Well, and we are the connection between what's going on in the ring and the crowd.
Yep.
We're the ones connecting the dots.
Yep. And I've told you this too before and everything. Like our team of me, you, and Aaron, what we do is we call the matches, we talk about the history, and then also in between we also fill in the gaps with conversation as well to keep everything flowing in a good direction and everything, so there's no dead space, there's no dead areas and stuff.
Yes.
Because dead space, and that's the big thing too, is to make sure it flows.
Yeah.
Oh, Omega just now chimed in again. He said, exact quote I heard once from a promoter: if Jacob was alive 80 years ago, he would have been kneecapping people for the Irish mob.
You know, the thing about Jacob, though, if he will believe in himself, he's got the talent.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's more mental with him than it is other. The gimmick's there, the people, he knows how to get the people to work behind him. You know, he's got the look to where a fan can think, hey, he looks like me and he's in there doing this. Maybe I can do that. And that's one of the things we tried to do with MWA. We wanted to take people and turn them into true superstars, but they had to be believable. That not, you know, if you work hard, you know, not the whole, you know, eat your vitamins, say your prayers and all.
Yep.
But the same, if you work hard and you really want to do this, you can do it. And Jacob's got that look to him to where he can make that possible.
And a great moveset, too.
Jacob is believable as crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
If you really got passion for what you're doing, it's not work at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're right.
Exactly.
You're
Yeah.
exactly
I mean,
If
look
the
at what we're
passion's there. It's not work.
look at what we're doing now. We got five media personalities, wrestling personalities in a room, and we are sweating right now. It is god awful hot.
200
Yes.
degrees in here.
And we are going on what now? Almost 2 hours. Talking.
Yep.
Are we really?
Yes.
And it
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
even
not
feel like
bad.
it's almost 2 hours.
It's gone by
Really
fast. So,
has.
Neil, I wanted to ask you, has there been moments where you're just like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm in the middle of all this right now. What are some of those moments to you? Not favorite moments, but just, how did I get in this situation?
There's a couple that it's like you're in the ring and you don't know who's coming to the ring. A couple of times in Lexington shows that happened. A lady took her top off and didn't tell us that was going to happen.
Oh, God.
Jim Chadwick's trying to run behind me, and I'm trying to run behind him in the corner of the ring trying to get out of there because his wife is over there watching. My wife is over there watching. And she's got her top off coming at us. And it was totally we didn't know anything about this was going to happen. But, man, we were like, dude, I'm not there ain't nobody suing me on this one, boy.
That's great.
That's the best part.
There's
Though, is when it's
some-
unscripted.
There's some wild things that can happen in the ring.
My
Yeah.
aha moment.
Well, and also one I was doing, it was supposed to be Road Warrior Hawk or somebody, and Jerry Lawler were supposed to face off.
Animal.
Yeah, Animal.
Yeah.
Now, nobody told me that there were going to be somebody said there may be a couple of security guys coming into the ring to keep them apart. There were 20 security guys that rushed the ring to stand in between these two guys. Nobody told me anything. I jumped to the floor because once I see extra bodies coming, I don't know where they're coming from. I'm like, man, I'm not getting in between this fight, and whoever's coming behind me ain't touching me.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm okay with not telling the rest who's in the ring what's going to happen all the time. But if there's 20 people going to run into the ring, you need to let somebody know.
Yeah. Well, I had somebody ask me one time, listening to our commentary work, do you know what's going to happen? I said, no, I don't want to know. I want to be able to give my genuine reaction. If that's standing up when, a paper-thin Morgan Jane gets cut in half from a spear by Chris Crow, we never saw that coming. I mean, we know how brutal that spear can be, but we didn't expect her to be on the receiving end of it. I don't want to know that stuff. I want you to get my genuine reaction on the microphone.
Yeah.
Just like JR and Jerry Lawler.
Yep.
They didn't want to be told anything because they didn't want to already know then blow the excitement. They want to be excited just like all the fans.
I think that a commentator's genuine reaction as opposed to a manufactured reaction is worth its weight in gold, and it means more genuinely than it does, well, hey, I knew this was getting
Good,
ready to
bad, or
happen.
indifferent. Whether
Yeah.
you mess up
Exactly.
or not. You may not supposed to pop, and all of a sudden you pop for it.
Yeah.
It's still the live, because that's the fan.
Yeah.
You're all the fans.
Yeah.
So
That's
the
right.
fans there. And speaking of that, and I go back to WWE a little bit. The one thing I did, I never watched WWE, WCW, all them when I was booking. I didn't want to copy what they did. And when ATM was in it, I watched it a little bit just to keep up because all the guys in the back did. What's your thoughts with, Pat McAfee I've heard on SmackDown and Raw or wherever he's at. I know he's leaving now for football, but what is he that's different? Because according to Twitter, he's the greatest thing ever, or he's the devil. But most people seem to think he's really brought a lot out, and he brought a lot of Michael Cole out that people didn't know was there before.
Exactly.
So when we talk about teams, you know, JR and the King, to me they're as good as anybody because they knew how to work with each other.
Sure. Yep.
They knew how to the banter back and forth, and it seems like McAfee may have that with Cole. But what is it that he brings that's different, or what today in Kentucky wrestling? What is it that someone could bring? Because hopefully when people see this, all the shows, hey, I want to do that. If these old guys that are out of shape, or these old guys that are doing it, or these young guys that are doing it, what can we do to get into it? And that's really our job as the historians or the people that's been around, is to pass it and teach it to the next generation. Because if we don't do that, then who is?
I think one thing that has to do with McAfee's success is that he took his podcast ability, cross it over to the live wrestling announcing.
Yeah.
And they're allowing him to really get personal. And there's, when he's doing his commentating and the wrestler's in the ring and he doesn't like him, that wrestler knows he doesn't like him. And when they're on the floor, he'll jaw to him and talk them back and forth, and they let him do that.
Lance Russell.
So, yeah, he gets involved in the story, and his involvement in the story gets the fans involved in the story too.
Yeah. It's like I was saying earlier and everything, genuine reaction, getting excited about what you're seeing in the ring. I think with McAfee being such a fan of wrestling and everything, he's made it fun to listen to him. And it's also made it fun for Michael Cole, as Michael Cole was used to the manufactured, hey, we're going to take this guy to a medical facility, blah, 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 blah.
And also having to deal with some guy's ear.
Yeah, yelling at him in his ear.
Yeah, that's one of the things that was wrong with the gorilla position. Somebody screaming in your ear where you're trying to broadcast is something that I just wouldn't do.
Yeah.
There's no way you can, because how can you concentrate on everything that's going on in the ring, plus somebody telling you that you have to call it this and promote this now, as opposed to giving them just give them a list of stuff to hit, bullet points to hit.
Yeah.
Like if they really want to push the match at the pay-per-view, push the match at the pay-per-view or push the storyline.
Yep.
That'll help push the match to the pay-per-view.
Yep.
But don't, hit this.
Yep.
No, never mind. Don't hit that. It's like you can't once you put it out there, you can't take it back.
Exactly.
I think with McAfee being there with Michael Cole and everything, it's brought something out in Michael Cole that it's almost like he's having a second wind of his career now.
Yep.
And he's getting all this praise now because of his work with McAfee, and I think it's been great for Michael Cole. And it's been great
in what I've noticed, especially with the WWE live shows, the last time they came in and McAfee was there. What I used to see from Michael Cole is this. Just sitting up straight, call the match, all prim and proper and everything. Then I've noticed this. Rocking back and forth and just call the match very casually. And I say casually, I don't mean that he's not doing a good job, but he's very relaxed on the microphone.
Yeah.
Comfortable.
You may think that's easy to do for everybody. Neil, you probably know this from all your years in radio. It's not that easy to be relaxed on the microphone. We're all pretty relaxed right now.
Yep.
But when you've got copy in front of you and you've got somebody saying, okay, hit this, this, and this, no, don't do that. How am I supposed to be relaxed on the microphone?
And the clock's ticking down each second.
And you're looking at the clock
And
counting
you've got,
down.
yeah.
Heartbreak's coming up. Or,
Well, that's okay. You just have to slow things down.
That's right.
And guess what?
Check out the clock as it counts down.
He lets Dominic know he hates his fucking guts because he's always screaming, "You no good son of a bitch!" Beep. Just like
Johnny.
This is a PG show. MWA was always around schools.
Well, that's something
Rarely any.
that's something I noticed that Triple H brings part of what his influence has. The wrestlers aren't scared and the announcers aren't scared to actually interact with the audience now.
Yeah.
It's like in the 80s, they wouldn't think of doing anything that would be outside of the little world that they're in. Now they're talking about They're bringing in wrestlers from champions from other promotions.
Yeah.
They're talking about New
Yep.
Japan Pro Wrestling. They're
And they're
talking
like
about
that.
stuff going on in
Yeah.
indies, and now where they wouldn't have done that under Mr. McMahon's era.
And they're letting their guys go off and wrestle on the Indians and wrestle for other promotions.
Yeah. And it's great, to watch NXT on Tuesday nights, and they're bringing in, the TNA talent. They're bringing in Joe Hendry, who's getting work everywhere now.
Not to mention that he started out a Rosebud first.
Yeah, and they just brought in Rosemary this
Yep.
past week.
I love that.
But the thing is, though, is all the TNA talent and everything, they're getting seen by the WWE fans for quite possibly the first time. So I think it's it's working, because not everybody that watches WWE watches everything else.
Exactly.
And gentlemen, another thing to bring up too, DNA, their pay-per-view has sold out as a Friday or for Friday. So, I mean, it's going to show that it is that partnership is working, and the partnership with NXT and TNA it's absolutely out of this world, because they're treating TNA talent like their own.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, and it's like they're giving the fact that they're giving respect to wrestlers that aren't on the roster gives more respect to the WWE.
Yeah.
And that's something
Uh-huh.
that they just didn't realize that could happen. It's like if you open the tent up and say, "Hey, we're looking at we've got our eyes outside of what we're doing," it'll improve everybody else, because all boats rise when one boat rises.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Oh, that's very good. I like that.
You
Yeah.
can- I'll let you have that, man.
Okay, I'm stealing it.
I'm very,
Very nice, Neil.
I'm very
That is
profound.
very
I
nice.
can be profound at times. Yeah.
And Omega chimed in again this time. He said, "Genuine reaction. I once got booked on a show because of a clip when Aaron and Bobby did commentary on me versus Marty. I gave Marty Clay a clothesline from hell, and the genuine reaction on commentary popped the booker who was watching it."
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know
That
that.
is awesome.
That's awesome. I love that.
Well, guys, I can't believe it's already been 2 hours.
Are you serious?
Yes.
How?
It goes by fast, don't it?
Bear didn't tell me it was going to be 2 hours, man.
Johnny,
I was
Johnny, this
thinking
is
90
what
minutes,
happens.
an hour, or something
Hey,
like that. I was
I
like, 2
tell you though.
hours.
45 with a few.
It's a good thing I have
It
3
went
minutes
like
after
5
9.
minutes.
Well, this is what happens when you get a couple radio guys around
Yep.
you.
This is the longest I've worked for free in my life.
Free. I thought we were getting paid.
The longest.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've come to the end of the show where we say our goodbyes. Who'd like to be the first one to do it?
But shoot, I'll say it was good to see. It's good to see my brother. You are
Absolutely.
my brother, and all the guys that I've worked the shows with up and down the road. They're my brothers too, and they know they are. Even though we don't talk to each other a lot, and whenever they need tickets, I would always hook them up, and I miss seeing them and miss talking to them backstage.
Yep.
That's right.
You know, one thing I'll say, they're your brothers, but even though we may have been different areas, you're still our brothers. The MWA is a family. It always will be a family. We've helped, bury people. We've helped make people. We've lost people. We've had people get married. We've had them have kids. We've had wrestlers divorce and get married to other wrestlers. And I mean, it's a true soap opera, but it truly is. It's a family. And one thing I can say is, it's been an honor to be a small part of it. I've always been kind of back behind, and I always wanted to promote it and push it. But to be able to sit here with this group and be a part of it has been a true honor, and it is one of the highlights. So thank you all.
I just want to say
Well-
that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You go ahead. You got it.
Okay. I just want to say that, I started in 91, but I started at the MWA in 94, and I worked up until 2012, and the MWA is the highlight of my life. It means more to me than anything else. That is the best time in my life that I've had more fun working for the MWA than anywhere else. And, the MWA, because of the MWA, it gave me a personality. It gave me a voice. It's basically my lifeblood. So I appreciate everybody that I've ever worked with in the MWA, even Mark Morris.
Easy.
But yeah, the Bobby Blade wouldn't be Bobby Blade without the MWA, and I appreciate that. And I just want to plug September the 14th in Richmond, Kentucky, EWA at the Telford YMCA.
That's right. You up, Aaron?
And yeah, and I want to say that I especially wouldn't have gotten the experience if it wasn't for MWA and them putting all the trust in me, and for especially running all their social media aspects, all their videos, all their posters. I mean, there for a while, I was, that was what I did. And I appreciate all the stuff that I've learned through the MWA and been able to apply it to things I'm doing now. So thank you.
You're up, baby, DJ.
I'm just caught up with what everybody else was saying. Jeez, can't top anything that you guys just said.
Sure you can.
I really can't. No. This has been a blessed journey to be alongside you, Aaron, Scott Diamond, Adrian, all the great personalities that we've worked with throughout the years. It has been an unbelievable journey, and I don't want to say I'm happy to be along for the ride, because it's not a ride. I treat it as a real job. Like you said, I want to bring some professionalism to this, and for me to take this seriously and give me another opportunity to, one, make these connections and make these friendships, the people who I never thought I would ever, we're watching Royal Engagement.
Yeah.
I never thought Bobby Blade in the ring, and I'm 22 years old watching Bobby in the ring. I never thought we would be this close to friends now. It comes down to friendships to me. It really does. And the relationships that I've built and what wrestling has provided for me, as far as, just being immersed in all of this. So Bobby, thank you. Aaron, thank you. Thank you. Neil, we got to talk about some radio. We haven't had a
We'll
chance.
have to do that sometime.
We could do another podcast, Johnny,
That's true.
about radio.
With
So
both y'all.
I've enjoyed talking to you.
Nice talking to you, too.
Absolutely. So it's been great.
And
Neil, can we ever get you back in the ring?
Well,
I'm retired, man. Retired.
but you know what?
Johnny, I want to thank you too, again,
Yes.
Appreciate that.
because once again, you're putting in a lot of sweat equity, literally, and providing a platform for MWA and getting this product back out and reigniting the interest.
It's
in
what we've been
MWA.
trying to do since
And you've done a hell-
2022.
You've done a hell of a job with it.
I appreciate that. I've been enjoying listening to all the stories every NWA person that we've had in here told. One hell of a story is let the people that may not have known about MWA start knowing about MWA. It's let the people that knows about MWA relive some of that history that they've been missing for over 11 years. Here it is, 2024. The building closed down. The company closed down 2013. And we're here 11 years later, and MWA is still being talked about. That is the impact that this company has had. That's the impact and legacy that guys like Danny Fargo, Dale Mann, Jim Chadwick, all these guys helped bring. And you're getting to hear about this because we're going to keep on bringing MWA people in here so that y'all can understand why it was so successful, why it meant so much, why it was the cream of the crop when it comes to professional wrestling in Kentucky, and why it's still talked about to this day. And with that, I just want to say, from the podcast God and from the podcast family, if you ain't having fun, you ain't getting none, because the NWA is where it's at. Mountain Wrestling Association forever.
Damn Skippy.
Yeet yeet.
Nice guy.